Hello everybody, this is Conquering History Games and welcome back to part 3 of my British Empire playthrough. Yes, we have finally made the changeover. We are paternally autocratic under King Edward VIII. So we're still suffering from a few problems such as civil unrest and London market collapse and so on and so forth. We got a bunch of things we can take here that are just 35-day focuses. But we need to focus on the economy because the London market crash is still hurting us pretty badly, especially with the recruitable population factor. It's simply unacceptable. Now, between episodes, I just took some time really taking a look at these two things, and it's really tough to say which one I like more. But I think I'm going to go for the full austerity, but let me just explain my reasoning. If I go down the ending intervention, it may, at first glance, look like I only have 3 focuses. Well, I do only have 3 focuses to take. But lifting the interest caps as well as restricting government subsidies both take 140 days. So this is essentially 4 regular focuses. And then liberating the markets takes 175 days. But at the end of it, I'm going to get 300 political power, and I'll get a national spirit called Liberated Market, which gives me a bunch of permanent long-term buffs. So I guess that's the trade-off. So not only will I get rid of the London market, my economy will be stronger than it was before. If I go with full austerity, however, this is a 70-day focus. Basically, all of these are, except for the bottom 3. These 3 are 35s, these 3 are 70s. So in the time it would take me to restrict government subsidies and lift the interest cap, I could take 5 of these top 6 focuses. And then when you consider liberating the markets, this is much, much faster. So the downside is that when I take ending austerity, I'm not going to get the liberated markets permanent buff. But I am going to get extra stability, and I'm going to get an extra 200 political power. So that while it won't be a permanent buff, I do think that this is probably a little better. In addition to that, 140 days, 175 days, that's a really long time to be forcibly locked into a focus. And I don't know what's going to happen in the world. I don't know if I suddenly might have to find a war, if I might need to start focusing on my military, because really, I've done most of the land doctrine tree, but I haven't done anything with my Air Force or Navy yet, for example. So, I want to do Royal Marines at some point. And then there's this Irish stuff, the Westminster stuff. I still have to do the God Save the King stuff. It's an enormous tree, and I want the flexibility to take the stuff I want to take when I want to take it. So, maybe I could just, if I've only taken 1 or 2 and then something happens and I have to pivot, I've got that freedom to do that if I do the austerity tree. So I think, for me, my plans, the full austerity is going to be the better way to go. So let's go ahead and do that. Plus, that 500 political power is going to be pretty important for digging myself out of this hole. Now, unless anything changes, we're just going to be rushing all the way down the ending of austerity. There is a bunch of stuff over here under the God Save the King, but I think the King needs to first take care of the economy, and then we can move on from there. Now, I do have, no, I don't have anybody in production, I was going to say, as far as an army goes. Alright, we're going to devalue the pound. The goods will be cheaper. Cheaper goods means more people will buy our goods. So this will modify things a little bit. Hopefully this doesn't I hope this doesn't trigger some sort of event where inflation runs out of control or something. Why do you have to be at war to do war games? Oh no, it cancels it if I'm at war. Right. What is this? Launch political reforms. Wait a second. What is this? Well, first let's read the event. The revolution is crushed. Righteous justice and liberty has prevailed this day. The undemocratic and evil forces of communism and socialism who intended to forcibly ravage and destroy this great nation have been vanquished. As the God-appointed monarch of this nation, I shall assume my role as the head of this united kingdom and her government. This is, of course, Edward talking, in conjunction with the Anglican Church. Today marks a new era in British politics, a brighter future for Britain and her empire. The speech given by His Royal Majesty King Edward VIII after dissolving Parliament today. His actions came as a great shock, not only to the people of Great Britain, but to the world as a whole, as democracy has, for the first time since King Charles I, been discarded by the reigning monarch in an attempt for absolute monarchy. Many in the country view the actions of the king as a violation of their rights as people, with many socialists and communists protesting him fiercely, stating that his actions are the greatest violation of this country's people and their human rights we have ever seen. However, the king does have considerable support from inside the government itself, with the majority of his support coming from the military high command and the ranks of the military itself, thereby allowing Edward to assume control with very little resistance. Democracy is one of the oldest British traditions, and one can only wonder how long this new political reality will last. Radical problems require radical solutions, so I'm no longer going to be considered a political meddler, which was lowering my political power game every day. And I get more stability. I'm going to get rid of the civil unrest, which was also increasing my daily political power costs and hurting my economy. And I'm just going to get some more stability. So there, it sort of got me on the road to recovery, a little bit at least. Now, over here, I'm thinking about, I think I need to launch some political reforms. It's going to increase my consumer good factories, but if we go over here to construction, so we can see I've already got 59% being used up, and I really want to dig myself out of this hole as soon as possible, because then the sooner I do that, the sooner I can start mobilizing, the sooner I can increase my conscription laws, and so on and so forth. Well, maybe not conscription laws, but I can start getting, companies and stuff. We're almost a year and a half into the game, and I'm still recovering. So let's go ahead and launch those reforms. There, look at that. We're getting 3/4 of a point a day. Truly, we are kings. Now, I've got some other ideas here. Oh, wait a second. The flag of the new empire with the ascent to power of King Edward VIII, a new political dawn has descended upon our fair nation. Rapidly, changes are occurring throughout the kingdom in relation to economic and social matters. One recent matter, however, is one that must be decided by the king himself. The flag of the United Kingdom has remained the same since the Act of Union in 1800 officially added Ireland as part of the United Kingdom. Recent political developments, however, allow us to decide whether or not the Union Jack should be replaced by the royal standard of the King Emperor, or whether we should keep the flag that has become synonymous with the British Empire and its influence around the globe. The Union Jack is the symbol of Britain, it cannot be replaced, or the royal standard to highlight the new political reality. I like that. The Union Jack is nice and all, but I think this is even nicer. Yes, it's beautiful. Alright, so we're going to keep going here, and yeah, we're just going to get ready. So down here we have our South African divisions. We should name them as such. Whoop. Okay, South Africa, because I want to be able to hover over these when I want to know what's where. What's going on? There we go. South Africa divisions. We've got our various colony forces. They're based here in Ceylon mostly, and Singapore. And we've got the home army. Great. Now, this is going to really hurt at some point. I don't have anybody in production now. I could set one up, but eventually I'm going to be wanting to slash the military funding. And this is going to lower my recruitable population by another 15% on top of what it's already been reduced by. So I'm basically not going to be able to do anything as far as increasing my army goes. How's the armor looking? We could go for the Edward, but geez, 728 days. It's just ridiculous, and London market collapse is hurting that as well. So you can't go wrong focusing on the industry, I suppose. All right, Rhineland has gone. Oh, the Freikorps. The Freikorps referenced here. Interesting. What does that national spirit give them? Freikorps. Oh wait, wrong one. Here we go. The Freikorps. It's lowering the support of all leftist parties as well as lowering their political power gain. Okay, so since they're a paternal autocrat, what are they going to do? I wonder if the Rhineland can go independent. But Italy has become a commune. Italy looks really interesting, and it's definitely something I probably will play once the localization is done. It looks like they have so many different political branches they could go down. Very nice. Gramsci looks a little chunky. He's got a very thick neck in this portrait. I don't know if I've said that before. Also, we have some command power. Let's spend that somewhere if we can. Or wait, I think I've been wanting to do that and I can't. Alright, so here's what we do. Here's the little trick, right? When you got excess political power and you don't know what to do with it, we just got to find people who I will eventually want to be in charge anyway. And let's find something that we can assign to them. Like here, lists. No. None of these guys have traits that I can upgrade right now, I don't think. Flexible strategist, war hero, no. How about Smith down here? No, yeah, because he's a level 1. Alright, never mind. That's a no-go on that trick. Let's bring this guy out and train him a little bit. Now, logistically, I'm in the green everywhere, which is good, so we shouldn't have any equipment problems when the time comes to make more divisions. Speaking of which, let's set one up down here. I think Africa is where I'm going to end up pulling a lot of my manpower from, and there's going to be some releasing of puppets, I think, just because I'm not a fan of all this African area that's directly in my empire that I have to babysit. Like, so I'll probably release Nigeria down here. I'll probably release Ghana as well. Sierra Leone. We'll see. We'll see how I'm feeling, but I anticipate, as part of the role-playing, a huge part of the role-playing is going to be having my puppets do the fighting for me. Looks like the Spanish Popular Front is on the road to victory down in Spain. The collectivists could be becoming pretty strong. What's going on down here in Argentina? Oh yeah, I think I already checked. They went liberal, and they're gonna stay liberal. All right, 14th Imperial Conference begins. This was the London thing we did a couple parts ago, or whatever. This morning, the Prime Minister of Great Britain formally opened the 14th Imperial Conference in London. Imperial delegates from throughout the Empire are set to debate numerous important issues regarding the future of our great nations. Each delegation opened with a small speech of their own, which is likely to indicate their own interests in the conference. Notably, the Canadian delegation once again announced their support for the backing of the Statute of Westminster and increased autonomy for all Dominion nations, including British India. The Australian and New Zealand delegations made a joint statement in which they wish to express interest in increased investment in their territories, as well as policies where the British government would encourage immigration to both Australia and New Zealand. The Irish and Indian delegations raised their concerns of growing unrest in both their nations, as well as their interest in more autonomy as a means of counteracting it. While many within our government are considering these statements as the usual complaints and suggestions, others believe that if they are not properly resolved in this Imperial Conference, that we may see increased revolt against our rule. Whatever our choices, we must move carefully lest we lose control of the Empire altogether. Alright, so does that... Oh, there we go. Now we're going to figure this stuff out. Imperial Conference Day 1, Economic Policy. There's going to be a lot of reading this episode, I see. But, it's a new game. You guys are fine with that, right? Alright, minus 10% consumer good factories. Excellent. So that'll actually cancel out the political power thing. Although that's already gone too, it seems. Costs 50 political power at a time to develop these guys. If I complete... Let's see, friends in far-flung places, loyalty rewarded, reconciliation, jewel of the empire. Okay, so it looks like those decisions over there, where I can improve them, will happen as I do these things over here. And eventually I can come down here to the Imperial Scientific Council, which I also want to do, so I can get that 5th research spot. There's just so much to be done. Anyway, the agenda on the first day of the 1937 Imperial Conference is to be the economic policy of the Empire. Many of our dominions, and the Home Isles included, are still suffering greatly from the effects of the London market collapse only 9 months ago. With our industrial and economic leverage over the Empire, it will be impossible for us to determine the course we will take together to... It will be possible for us to determine the course we will take together to solve this crisis. While we have only limited investment to spare for the dominions, we can target it to a specific area to assist them in their construction. The most popular idea that has been raised is by far the combined Australasian delegates, is one of increased industrial construction to facilitate bringing more of the unemployed back into the workplace and to spur on the combined economies of the Empire. Alternatively, we may also divert our investment towards the construction of infrastructure throughout the empire to allow us to access the more remote territories of the empire with greater ease. Finally, there are those who suggest that this investment should go towards militarizing the empire, as there are fears that with growing instability in both Europe and abroad, we may be required to involve ourselves more directly in the coming future. So we could give them factories, give them infrastructure, or give them bases. I think we've got plenty of bases already. There's like naval and air bases, so we're not going to do that one. We're going to go with Workshop of the World. See, and I do want to help them first, but I think I need to help myself. I want to help them, but I need to help myself first. So I think before I even do any of these Imperial developments, it's that research slot. That's really the thing that's so good, is getting that 5th slot. So actually I might do the Imperial developments before I do God Save the King, just because Edward's that kind of a nice guy. Alright, day 2, foreign policy. Given our dominant military position over the parts of the empire, it has come to us to decide our united foreign policy in regards to the coming years. Since the end of the Great War, we have retreated into isolation as a means of preserving the integrity of our empire, though with growing threats abroad, this policy is regularly being challenged within the empire. Our first choice is to continue the policy of isolation that we have maintained since the end of the Great War. While this policy is likely to ensure the stability of our nation and the empire at large, it will limit our ability to pursue meaningful affairs with other nations around the world. The final alternative is one that is surely to generate the most resistance from the dominions, the proposition that we once again attempt to expand our empire. While we do already control over a quarter of the globe, the more hawkish members of our parliament and others firmly believe that when empires start expanding, they eventually fall. In this case, we must expand or perish. But what happens if we take over the world? Can the British into space? Anyway, this policy brings with it the greatest risks, but also the greatest opportunities. Any attempt to make expansionism imperial policy is likely to shake the foundations of our empire. We can maintain our isolation and keep the tension low, or civilization must be brought to the barbarians of the world. And it must. The world tension. I'm trying to think if there's anything I've seen around the world that's tied to tension, other than, of course, war support. Is this going to help me or hurt me in any way? I guess the Republic will probably start guaranteeing the independence of more places if tension goes up. So basically I need to think. So if tension goes up, they're much more likely to guarantee Zapadoslavia and Poland, I figure. Because, okay. So I just need to decide, do I want the Germans or the French to win the war? And I might kind of of course I'm going to beat them both at some point, but who do I want to win initially? I think I might want to side with France, not meaning I'm in a faction with them, but put France in a position to win rather than have Germany own basically all of Western Europe, because then it's going to become a pain for me to get myself on the continent. And I think France, if they do beat Germany, they'll move slower. I think a protracted war leans towards France. An earlier war that'll go longer, and so they weaken each other. So we will say civilization must be brought to the barbarians of the world. Now we're at 26% world tension. Oh, we bypassed the Imperial foreign policy now. Cool. All right, day 3, Imperial Conference Day, internal policy. Perhaps the most important day of this year's Imperial Conference has arrived, the meeting where we discuss the combined future of the Empire. Since its inception, Westminster has always attempted to maintain control over the dominions, and while this was difficult in the early days of our empire, it has grown increasingly easier as technology has finally caught up. During this time, Dominion states have grown accustomed to their autonomy, and many of the delegations, notably the Canadians, have only demanded more as their nation has become both richer and more populous during the economically booming 1920s. The only thing that is known for sure that any attempt to further pursue the status quo will likely lead to increased dissident against our rule, one that may have unforeseen consequences for both ourselves and others. With this in mind, many believe that the time has come to begin loosening the chains that bind our dominions together and to begin the moves towards their ultimate independence. However, there is another alternative. Prior to the Great War, an energetic part of the political class, both in Britain and in the Dominions, has been advocating for a type of federation between the Empire. One where the Dominions would be granted equal representation inside a proposed Imperial Parliament, where all the parts of the Empire would be united. Those who support this argue that it may stamp out all attempts at future independence of our Dominion states, while making us an exceptionally strong force on the global stage. The critics of this policy argue that it would be impossible to force either the Indian or South African delegations to accept this measure, and that we would likely see revolt in both of these locations should we attempt to impose direct rule from London. Our choices are many, and their consequences potentially disastrous for the Empire. Today will mark a major turning point of our Empire, regardless of which decision we take. For the sake of everything we hold dear, we must choose carefully. Great, so now the South Africans are probably going to revolt while I've been recruiting from them. That's fantastic. Okay, well, we're definitely not going to do the status quo. Now, I think this is related to this part of the focus tree down here. Yeah. I'm thinking Imperial Federation. Uh-oh, but I'm seeing a lot of red here. Uh-oh. Okay, but the reason why I wanted to do the Imperial Federation. Status quo's dumb, and I don't want freedom for them. But the Imperial Federation, yeah, we're going to create some sort of Imperial Parliament, but it's all going to be under Edward, so who cares? As long as the Windsors are in charge, nothing can go wrong. But it looks like there's actually some negative consequences if I do this. Gains national spirit, imperial upheaval, which is minus 15% stability, minus 0.5 daily political power gain, justify war goal time plus 200%, consumer good factories plus 10%, research time plus 5%. The process of federalizing the empire will take years to complete and may not be successful, but if finished will result in an empire stronger than ever before. The Dominions are unlikely to agree to the initial proposal. In order to be successful, Britain must maintain high relations with the Dominions, and if necessary, sacrifice total control over imperial matters to persuade the Dominions into accepting. And for the other ones, it says it may be many months before the real effects of our decision become apparent. So either way, whatever I take now is going to take a little while before it actually triggers. But we're going to do the Imperial Federation. It's going to hurt me for a while, though. It sounds, though, like I have to do what I was going to do anyway, and I need to work with the Dominions first. So I think that'll be the first thing I do after I'm done with this economic stuff. Alright, is that the last day of the conference? Nope. Imperial Conference Day. I like this, though. I like things that keep you busy during peacetime in HOI4 in a mod. It's one of the most important things in a mod, to me, actually. Alright, question of Ireland. While the topic of greater autonomy for Ireland was not expected to be raised during the 14th Imperial Conference, the Irish delegation took the time to gain support from the dominions of the Empire as a means of pressuring Westminster into once more revisiting the issue. The issue of the Irish Republican Brotherhood continuing to attack and disrupt our ability to govern Ireland has been raised, and many in our government believe the time may have arrived to finally give Ireland a greater degree of home rule as a means of starving the Brotherhood politically. The hardliners in our government suggest that we cave politically to autonomy now. That if we cave politically to autonomy now, we'll only embolden the IRB to take further action against us, potentially making a more significant impact politically if they can succeed in claiming they were the reason for more autonomy being granted. That's a good point. Those who oppose home rule therefore argue that the time has arrived for us to politically push for an acceptance of the status quo in Ireland. The process will likely entail compromise and may not triumph, but its success will mean an end to the IRB and an end to political troubles in Ireland. With this in mind, perhaps a greater degree of home rule will solve our problems, at the very least temporarily. They must be integrated, or they must be given a degree of independence. So this is something else. This is another one here. Yeah, Irish home rule. We're going to want to integrate them. Grants national spirit, Irish integration efforts will be abandoned if Republic of Ireland exists, and eventually we crush the Brotherhood. Yeah, we are going to integrate them. Look, they're in the flag and everything. They must be integrated. All right, Canadian response. Unsurprisingly, the Canadian government has rejected our proposal for an imperial federation between our nations. We must continue convince them over the next few years. Wait, so does this... Okay, so I still can do it. I still can take this. It's just, they're pissed at me. Alright, Day 5, Adjournment. This evening, the 14th Imperial Conference has been formally concluded by statements from each Imperial delegation. While our choices so far have made little impact throughout the Empire, an empire as expansive as ours, it will not take long before the governments of the respective Dominion states affected by our policies officially meet and forge their own reaction to our decisions. In the coming weeks and months, we may see increased instability throughout the empire as the Dominions begin to adapt to the new reality. We must prepare ourselves for any eventuality and stand fast against any attempt to destroy the empire from without, or perhaps from within. Our path ahead lays bare, we must tread it lightly. Okay, cool, we got some political power. It's concluding. 10 days of negotiations are Imperial burden. Yes, it is a burden. But we will bring civilization to the world whether they like it or not. Alright, South Africa has rejected it. India has rejected it. Australia has rejected it. Come on, New Zealand, be a team player. And New Zealand has rejected it. Okay, so does... I don't know if what this means. Like, if... Huh... It looks like it's still going to stay open for me, though. And maybe they were always going to reject it. Recent arms sale. Cool, we got some less consumer good. Awesome. Okay. So we have some research still to do, and I'm actually starting to second guess if I should do the heavy tanks at all. If I'm going to be relying a lot on puppet forces, it might be best to just abandon this dream. I'm not building any tanks now, and I am doing ground battle plan. You know what, I've got like a year, I think, before I have to make a decision anyway. Probably more. Yeah, I think heavy tanks might be out the window. It's 1937. We're already working on that. Land doctrine's being worked on. I could work on my navy a bit. Pick a doctrine. Well, I don't think we're going to war at all anytime soon. Oh, air doctrine. That's what we need. It's going to be an interesting game. This is going to be a long series, that's for sure. But I think it's going to be a very, very fun one. Yeah, I like this. That's what I like about... That's what really draws me to certain alternate history mods is the stories that are going on. So I'm just kind of curious, like, what's going to happen with the Federation? What's going to happen as the Windsors take more and more direct rule of not just Britain, but the entire empire? What's going to happen as Ireland is going to... We're going to try to integrate them. How is this all going to play out? It's just so interesting for me. Yeah, let's see. I've only got 15% effective total manpower right now, so it really will be at 0 once I slash the military funding. Now, I think... oh, it can't be the last thing I take because I can't raise the bank interest rates until I've slashed the funding. So, we can cut our unemployment benefits soon. Oh, The Hobbit! Tolkien releases The Hobbit. The Hobbit are back again as a children's fantasy novel written by author J.R.R. Tolkien. It was published today to wide critical acclaim. It has been selling very fast and is already widely popular due to its fantasy nature and exciting story. It is sure to be a big hit for a long time to come. A thrilling tale. I knew a guy in high school, he had a Latin copy of The Hobbit because he was trying to learn it, and it was a fun book, so he decided to, I'm going to read The Hobbit in Latin. Alright, Canadian coal offer. The Canadians have offered to export coal at abnormally low prices. Following the aftermath of the LSMC, the Canadians have been unable to export many resources due to many nations not being able to afford old prices. Today, the Canadians have reviewed this, and they have looked to us for an overlord colonial trade deal. We'd certainly benefit more than the Canadians would from this. However, these prices would undercut local production. It might be more popular to decline this offer. Alright, the popular front just won. What's an empire without coal? Okay, so this is all about my personal popularity. I'm not going to get a popularity boost until I've got 60% or more. 5% though gets me halfway there. And the coal imports from Canada are only a temporary boost, so it's only going to last half a year. And it looks like I don't even... Well, they're going to get an event called the British Accept. That might make them like me more. This is a tough one. You know what? I'm going to get this this huge 500 political power once I end this austerity. And while there is a lot of things I want to spend it on... I think that'll be plenty. I think right now we need to just, Edward is king of not just the British but of everybody. He's gonna be the king of the world, as far as I'm concerned. And then British into space. So let's be nice guys and help out the Dominion a little bit. Plus, we're getting the 50 political power for it. Plus, how long? Once I go up to high popularity, yeah, it's a quarter of a political power a day. But how long is that going to take? It's good to get the 50 political power back, right? So let's wait on that. There's going to be other ways to increase my popularity, I'm sure. Actually, should I maybe pivot over here real quick? Imperial development. How do they feel about me right now? Like Canada. Ooh, Canada's at a -80 for me right now. It's because of the autonomy. And then these guys are at -85. Oh man. Yeah, they don't like me very much at all, do they? But each one of these is a +50. Anyway, no, we need to finish up the economy thing first, just because of the complete lack of recruitable population. It's just ridiculous. Alright, what is next on the agenda? It's too far ahead of time for these. Could start making my way over towards infantry equipment too. Or I could take this well ahead of time. Oops. Oh, wrong one. Dang it. Alright, we're still fine. A little bit short on oil. Let's get it from Venezuela. Or I could do excavation. No, excavation's not going to help me. It's 1937. Maybe anti... Oh, you know what? Maybe anti-tank. Yeah, let's get some of that. Just so we can start producing it. Okay, we're already done with we're no longer getting the austerity measures effects. Okay, good. Now, I think that's going to be a good place to stop for now. We did a bunch of Imperial stuff. I know not much time in the actual calendar went by, but that was a pretty big episode as far as the internal stuff went. And once the London stock market has been recovered from, we're going to be off to the races, I think, as the British Empire. So thanks for joining me. I'm Conquering History Games. I'll see you in the next one. I'm super excited. I hope you are too. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you then. Bye.